in the LEC 2023 Spring Split live from Berlin, Germany. The Shock's curse strikes again. I called out how good the weather was today, and no, 2 days ago rather. And now the sun is gone. It's looking gloomy. It sucks, but our teams are hot. However, as we dive into the back half of our regular season, my name is Shox, and I'm joined by GB and Treats, who also brighten up my day. So,
brilliant.
Wow.
Brilliant, indeed. Beautiful. Yeah. What's up, guys?
Yeah, perfect Scandinavian weather. Reunited with Treats. I feel good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, your accent actually got progressively more Scandinavian throughout that first sentence. Is that what's going to be like today? Or?
I don't know, VP Yee.
Let's see. So as we said, heading into kind of the back half of the regular season, we wanted to have a look at the state of the league currently and look forward towards the highest stakes matches coming up. And therefore, we have Trevor standing by at the Telestrator to explain it all to us.
Thank you so much, Shox. First of all, your dress is incredible today. Not only am I standing by, I actually want the three of you to get involved in the conversation with me. Just before I introduce you, though, I want to introduce a new tool that we have here when we look at teams and their head-to-heads. What I'm going to do in a moment is take a look at both SK and XL and discuss what some of the possibilities are, depending who wins the matchup, how high up the table they can go. As a reminder, if you are in Pool 5, this 9th, 10th place team, by the end of the regular season, that's in 4 games' time, you do not advance to the group stage. So if the regular season ended right now, Heretics and Fnatic would not make it to those best of 3s. In order to increase your chances to get to Pool 1, 2, 3, or 4, you have to start winning those games. So I'm going to start by taking a look at let's say SK Gaming, just because Treats is here on the desk for us. And this is where the tool will come up. As I've highlighted SK, in the matchup against BDS, they won. They lost to Vitality. Obviously, Koi beat them. And then they've picked up the win here against Astralis and Fnatic. I'm going to step over the side. And Treats and Goldborg and Shox, I'd like you to bring into the conversation now. Treats, in the matchup against XL, who's going to win here and why? Give me a quick answer.
I think SK will win. I think their bot lane, even though they have been struggling, has been looking good. So yeah, SK.
Okay, so you're going to go SK, right?
Yep.
And now this is where I want to bring in the conversation with the rest of the analysts. We're trying a new tool. As I've clicked SK, you'll notice now in the matchup against XL, they are now favored and their score has reflected it. Before I dive deeper on this, I want to ask the rest of the guests to predict today, right? And I'll try to keep it simple because there's a lot of information. So GB, Mad Lions or Heretics?
Oh, I mean, I'm going to have to go with Mad Lions. Feel like they just do it
Lions.
better.
Okay, then we have to just go Vitality. That one's easy. G2 BDS Shox.
I have a feeling BDS might beat G2, you know, because like sometimes when they had a really great result after, it's a little worse, and BDS, they're on fire.
I mean, okay, then this is obviously now, Koi is obviously going to be Fnatic, right? So with these scenarios set up, what I want to do is rearrange my scoreboard so you can take a look. Let's just double check that's set up correctly. There we go. In the current scenario, if these predictions come true, it's going to place 4-2. GB, when you look at the fact that they still have to play Mad Lions, G2, and Heretics, they make Pool 2. I think they win those games.
I mean, those seems, seems kind of likely. Not gonna lie, I could easily see that happen.
But they lost 2 already this week, though, so...
now they have to win.
How do they make Pool 1? I mean, in this scenario, when you see the head-to-heads, Mad Lions, G2, and Heretics, I mean, they can win those games to actually take Pool 1, top the group, Streets.
Yeah, I think they can. I mean, definitely at least 2 of them, right? So it does look pretty bright for SK, but they need to pick up the slack a bit as well.
Need to pick up the slack. Okay, hypothetically, if I change the focus now to XL, and let's say XL win this game, take a look at the matchups. One of the things I want to immediately swap around here is XL and SK could end up being tied at 3-3. But more importantly, when we look at the remaining games, Astralis, Koi, BDS, XL making it out, making it into groups this time around. GB, what's the likelihood here?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it can happen for sure. They're picking up the slack, so, you know, maybe.
What's the chances, Treats?
I mean, definitely I would say lower than the SK one. But a win today would be a pretty big deal for them, right?
Monumental, right?
Yeah.
Look, the thing is as well, when you do look at all the standings, because there's so many teams, I probably have to rearrange that one. That's the way it should have been. When you look at so many teams sitting at 1 win, 2 wins, 3 wins, obviously it's very, very close. So it's a very quick snapshot into the likes of SK and XL. We'll keep using this tool as the things play out, but at least that does set the scene a little bit.
Trevor, but I have to ask, Fnatic, chances. Is there anything you can tell us, or are there too many scenarios?
Okay, give me a second. I need to reset this very quickly. If you want to go Fnatic, I hear we are running out a little bit of time. So what I will say is this, okay? When I highlight Fnatic, you can see they've lost to everybody at the top of the table. Importantly, for Fnatic fans out there, the teams that are around and they still have to play with are at the bottom of the table. If I ignore every single result, and this is a crucial caveat, because if XL win and they get further away from Fnatic, Fnatic's chances of advancing drop, right? So these games are important. But if I ignore every game and I just look at Fnatic Koi, right now, if Fnatic win that game against Koi today and we ignore the other results, in 50% of remaining scenarios, they automatically lock. if they win against Koi today, they get at least a tiebreaker in 70% of the scenarios. So right now, I still think I will acknowledge though it is because it's 1-4, 2-3, 3-3, right? So it's very close. So these next games will determine it. Hopefully, I can check back in later on the show.
That's not too bad. I thought it would be worse. Thank you for that, Trevor.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Awesome. Okay, well, we got schooled a little bit on what is possible in terms of the next round, and we're gonna get schooled a little more because I have 2 high elo support. 1.5?
Yeah, 1.5, yeah.
I was 20 LP behind Keijo.
Okay, did you make it?
Of course not. I lost 4 in a row.
Okay. So we decided to teach you all at home a lesson on how to carry on support. I'm going to use DOS from yesterday as an example. They didn't win that game, but I think DOS is a good example, I guess, for someone who likes to carry from the support role. But before we start, since the 2 of you main support, can you each give me kind of a main rule, a guidance to follow for the supports in solo queue?
I mean, for solo queue specifically, I think the big difference maker is the impact on the map that you can have. And I get a lot of people asking this as well. I really think if you're playing playmaking champions, I really like Nautilus. Getting a crash on 2 and 3, either by getting, the solo kill coming through, but even if not, roam into mid lane. Legit just send it out on the map, have an impact, and just out-roam the enemy support can quite often in a solo queue just make you carry the game by yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that as well. It's kind of like opening up the map, opening up your eyes to other parts of the map. Don't be stuck babysitting your AD carry. You can help other people too.
That's the issue, I guess, because often they need to be babysat 24/7, sadly. As said, we're going to use some of DOS's gameplay. So what are you going to show us exactly?
Yeah, so we have a clip from yesterday in the bot side when they were playing against each other then. And as you can see in this clip, actually, is a wave state here where SK actually gets to crash. And I'm just going to play it out and let my co-buddy analyst Treats here join me as well.
Yes, so SK get the first crash here, and DOS knows obviously the exec wants the base. He's kind of covering the base here, and then he will go into the fog of war. So Koi's objective now is to get this crash as well, and DOS obviously knows it. He's a good support. He's gonna try to drag this wave up and use the fog advantage to his advantage here and freeze the wave.
Yeah, this is really important as well, because you can actually see that he drags it up here, which is where you can actually freeze it. I know a lot of supports go for the bushes, but this is another one you can go for. Drag it out of the turret range and keep 4 minions for the freeze to stay stacked here.
So it's always 4, and do they have to be full health?
I mean, yeah, right here, because they're taking some tower shot, this is not going to freeze forever, but it's going to be enough where he gets the cancel and Exakick comes back to base, or back to lane.
Exactly, and now Exakick has the Noon Quiver coming in here, so Koi are at a disadvantage now, obviously, and with this push that SK has in the bot lane, it opens up the Dragon as well for them, so already with the DOS stopping the back from comp and then Exakick coming back into lane, they have a Dragon window now and keep the pressure in the lane.
Do you often see in like the LEC, does everyone always do this correctly according to kind of the lane assignments, but also the lane matchup?
I feel like a lot of people know about it, but I think maybe Hilisan comes to mind as someone who really abuses this to the next level. He goes for the random ignites. Mickey X as well has done this a few times. And I think this clip is showing DOS do it as well. And then obviously now Trimby is kind of trying to do the same thing to DOS. He's like, okay, well, obviously he has a back advantage on DOS. He needs to cancel him here again. DOS knows this and really chunks him harder under tower.
Yeah, that's the thing. The problem is here for Trimby that he overdoes it a little bit, and this really has an influence on the lane because Exakick now comes back, and you can see the position right now with Comp, right? He's got a pushing wave, and DOS can walk forward and actually punish this. And while there is some mis-execution for Comp here not using the ultimate, being a level down, it's still really well played by Exakick and DOS.
So this here is all a consequence of what they set up earlier.
Yeah, for sure. But the first back that gets cancelled makes it so that you get the item advantage. That nets you the Dragon. After that as well, you can see the lane state is not favorable for Comp. His minion wave is bigger, so they have to push it in. And
it's also the pressure advantage that SK gets here as well. With them cancelling the back and then getting the Dragon, Koi feel like they're on the back foot for the entire sequence here. And then obviously now Larsen comes back down bot. A beautiful Lantern from DOS and ult from Exakick. And from this entire play, they got 2 kills and the Dragon right just from the base cancelling alone.
Yeah, I learned a lot here, I gotta say. This is awesome. I wish we could do this more often. Also, if you have questions for our 2 support mains about support, let us know on Twitter at PingTheLobby. And ahead of the first game between XL and SKdo, Frankie caught up with SK's coach, Swiffer. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Shox, and thank you, Swiffer, for joining me. Now, it has been a tough weekend for you so far because you've had to go up against Vitality and Koi, and today it's XL. I imagine the preparation was focused on the first 2 teams you had to play.
Yeah, it tends to actually be like that most of the time anyway, just because there are 3 games a week, right? So there's much more prep going into like the first 2 games. It's like the main focus and everything like that, or like the winnable games that you think are winnable going into the weekend. But I think we've done our homework. We're ready for today. Let's just hope we bring the energy.
So how did the team talk go after yesterday's match against Vitality?
So It was Doss's birthday, which was unfortunate that we lost on that, and we had to have like a bit of a dour conversation. And to be frank, we had a conversation about, accountability, like effort. I think we'd become a little bit more complacent in like our approach to practice and scrims and everything like that in the 2 weeks leading up to it. And I think that because we had such a successful first week, I don't think that problem kind of righted itself going into like the second week and everything like that. Obviously, the drafts were yesterday, were a bit shit as well. Yesterday and the day before were a bit shit as well, which obviously like we take responsibility for. But I think just all around we've been relatively lackluster this weekend. It's not like doom and gloom because it's only one weekend, right? And it's better to have it now than in playoffs or like group stage or the next phase. But it does hit pretty hard. So yeah, we're just looking to swing the momentum back to our favor and hopefully right everything going into today and the following week.
What direction are you aiming to go in with your draft at the moment?
I don't want to give too much away, but they have a couple of tendencies that they rely on, right? I think to secure like advantages for themselves and everything like that. I know I'm giving really like non-answers at the moment.
But we can look at your drafts and they're very meta-focused and they're not really experimenting, shall we say?
Theirs? Sorry? Or?
The drafts that you guys are bringing at the moment.
Ours aren't like too experimental. We draw a lot of inspiration from like, this patch has been played out like considerably in LPL, LCK as well. Obviously you can still have developments that unfold when you're on a patch for a really long time, but a lot of the groundwork has already been laid. It's just a matter of like prioritization and preference. Yeah.
But do you worry about other teams perhaps getting ahead of you in the meta?
Yes, we do. I think that this weekend as well, I think there have been a couple of instances where we've kind of like struggled to like find ourselves, I think is a good way to put it. And again, that also reflects pretty poorly on like myself and like the coaching staff and everything like that we haven't been able to give a bit more direction. But yes, it is a concern that we could be falling behind the meta. And I think today, again, like just going back to the previous question, I think that today we've figured it out again, or like hopefully figured it out. We'll see when it unfolds, but we're on the right track, I believe. Yeah.
I've got one more question for you, very quickly. Are you on the right track with your sense of humour, Swiffer?
Oh, please. Oh, my God, no.
Because last week, Shox was asking you to think of a joke, and now you've had a week. A whole week. Hit me with it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Garen walks into a bar. Yeah, there is no counter. Oh, okay. Yeah, we've got to go back to the drawing board with this one.
Shox, we're going to have a conversation and I'll let you guys talk about the match that's about to happen.
Thank you. Oh, I love that you called back to that. I have a joke too.
Very good.
As King's mid-games this week. Oh my God. They're still laughing about it. Oh, I feel so rude, actually. Also, it was funny because we talked about this before, and then it was such a great, insightful interview. So nice from Swiffer to like kind of roll with the punches in that. But we're looking forward to SK and what they can bring us on the Rift today. And they're up versus Excel, who also got a win on the board. What stood out to you as what finally went better for them?
Well, it felt like they made things more simple from their game plan as well. I think in the game that we saw Saturday, they were very adamant on playing all three lanes all the time, and they were very slow to the plays quite often of the objectives. But the adaptation we saw coming into yesterday's games was a simpler composition, and they started playing two lanes, which made it easier for them to actually be first on the objectives.
Yeah, and I think around the objectives as well, they kind of were taking things slower and just playing under CC, not overreaching in a lot of times. And then obviously, as you said, GB, the composition played into it. They have a clear front line, a clear back line. They have Straka to heal them up. So from the sense of team composition and the way that they were positioning around the fights, I think was way crisper than what they've shown before.
Treats, I feel like we say this about teams very, very often of like, oh, if you just make it simpler for yourself, if you make sure that the engage tools are there, etc. But a lot of teams don't seem to go for it that often. Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of teams are sometimes overconfident in what they can do and what the enemy can do. So I think that when they start losing or when they feel a bit of desperation, I guess, they kind of go back to the basics and back to the drawing board. So I expect other teams that have been struggling to also go for these kind of simple comps with frontline, backline. And I think it worked out pretty well for Excel.
It did. We'll see if the same thing happens today as we saw in Trevor's Telestrator earlier. You need all the wins because it's all very, very close together. So let's see who gets it in this first game of the day with Dagda and Quickshot.